Hi everyone, today we'll be having a look at issue 11 of Nanatsu Taizai, also known as the Seven Deadly Sins. On the front cover we have Meliodas, Elizabeth, Ban, Diane, Guffa and King. On the side we have Jericho, and on the back just some artwork of a place in Leonis. Under this jacket cover we have some artwork of Gilla, obviously when she was younger, carried her younger brother Zeal. The side is the same and the back is just the same as the jacket cover, just artwork of a place Leonis. Right, so let's have a look inside. Volume 11 has chapters 79 all the way to 86 and includes a short extra chapter at the end. Just a quick recap on the events towards the end of the last issue. Gilthunder had unleashed a powerful attack against Meliodas. Meliodas stopped using just his fingers and the black mark. At the same time, we found out that Ban was tasked by a goddess to kill Meliodas. And the story continues on from there. Chapter 79. So, after Meliodas stops Gilthunder's attack with his fingers by using the dark mark, the shocked Arthur is told by Hendrickson that Meliodas' demon powers had surfaced. Hendrickson then proceeds to continue attacking Arthur. This time, when he uses his black flames, Arthur's mysterious partner appears and extinguishes the flames. At this point, Hendrickson deduces that this mage, Arthur's mysterious partner, a cloaked figure, is quite powerful. Now going back to Meliodas and Gilthunder. The two have forced each other back due to the force of their previous attacks. Their fight continues, and eventually Gilthunder blows Meliodas away with one of his attacks. Meliodas gets up and he questions Gilthunder whether he truly wants to fight to the death, with Gilthunder stating the Knight's Code and also saying that he was stronger than any member of the Seven Deadly Sins. With that, their fight continues. We now move to where Elizabeth is. If you remember, she was taken by this female holy knight and teleported or transported to a more secure location under orders of Hendrickson. So Elizabeth wakes up and she finds her father, the King of Leonis, there too. After the two embrace, they hear several screams from the other side of this royal chamber. We see that Freda has come to seek an audience with the king. Chapter 80. Now, the knights guarding the royal chamber in which the King of Leones as well as Elizabeth is in, they keep saying to Freda that the king is bedridden, and they had orders from the Great Holy Knights not to let anyone in. Freda then states that he is a member of Dawn Raw, and that Dawn Raw are under the direct command of the king, and they answer to no Great Holy Knight. So after ignoring these guards, Freda attacks the door only for his attack to be reflected back at him. We then find out that the female Holy Knight places a spell around the royal chamber called Perfect Cube, which reflects any and all attacks. After hearing this, the king tells Freda to stop attacking. But Freda wants to save the king. So he continues to attack. At this point, the female Holy Knight, bored of Freda's futile efforts, uses some magic. She looks at Gilthunder's fight, only for her to see him being suppressed by Meliodas. After hearing that Meliodas came to rescue her, Elizabeth states that Meliodas will not lose, and that he will come to rescue her. Now, going back to Meliodas and Gilthunder, who are continuing their battle. Just like the female Holy Knight saw, Gilthunder is being overpowered by Meliodas. That is, until Hendrickson appears. And as we see here, Meliodas just manages to dodge Hendrickson's attack. At this point, Meliodas creates some distance between them, and he checks on Arthur's condition. We then find out from Hendrickson that Arthur fought alone. His mysterious partner did not aid him in any way. Meliodas, Gilthunder and Hendrickson now engage in battle. During the fight, we discover from Arthur's partner that it was Arthur's first battle wielding a sword. So that's quite shocking. It's Arthur's first time fighting with a sword, and he was able to almost hold his own against a great holy knight. At this point right here, Meliodas gives a powerful attack, so much so that both Hendrickson and Gilthunder are sent flying. Then Hendrickson summons the female Holy Knight to join the battle. And the three gang up on Meliodas. That takes us on to chapter 81. As this group are continuing their battle, we see Princess Margaret, who after escaping the dungeon heads to where Gilthunder is. At the same time, we find out that Gilthunder respected and admired Meliodas. We also discover that Gilthunder may have turned his back on his hero and everything wrong with Leones because of Margaret's life was at stake. She was imprisoned, remember. The battle continues and intensifies. After a large attack, Hendrickson deduces that Meliodas was not retaliating and was in fact heightening his own power for one decisive attack. At this point, Margaret finally arrives to where Gilthunder is, screaming for him to stop. But it was too late, as the three Holy Knights had begun their attack. Pretending to be ready himself, Meliodas jumps, and after sensing a faint presence by Margaret, right here, Meliodas attacks it. However, as a result, Meliodas gets hit by the female Holy Knight's attack. And Hendrickson moves in for the kill, right here. However, Gilthunder appears and protects Meliodas. The chapter ends with Gilthunder thanking Meliodas for releasing him from a kind of spell or bind. Chapter 82. So Gilthunder has betrayed Hendrickson. However, he states that he was never on their side to begin with. Gilthunder then sends Hendrickson flying, and after a few words with Meliodas, right here, proceeds to attack Hendrickson to take revenge against his father's murderer. If you don't know, Gilthunder's father or dad was the previous Great Holy Knight, Zaratras, who was murdered, and the sins were framed for his murder. So it seems from here that Gilthunder knew all this time who the real culprits were. Anyway, continuing on. Meliodas gets up and moves towards Margaret. During that time, the female Holy Knight questions Meliodas as to how and when he discovered what was going on with Gilthunder. And it seems that Meliodas knew that Gilthunder's moves were being monitored at the Forest of White Dreams. If you remember, the Forest of White Dreams was one of the first arcs really of this series. It was when we met Diane, and if you remember at that time, the two came under attack by Gilthunder. So, almost from the very beginning, Meliodas knew that something was wrong with Gilthunder. Here we have Meliodas. He helps Margaret up and state that Gilthunder would not compromise his sense of justice if it was just his life on the line. Then, during a series of flashbacks, we see Meliodas training Gilthunder, and later we see here that Gilthunder tells Meliodas to flee the capital. So we can guess here at this point that Gilthunder found out that the sins were being framed for the Great Holy Knight's murder, and Gilthunder told Meliodas to run. Meliodas tells Gilthunder a charm, and he says, the charm is, I am stronger than any member of the 7 deadly sins. When the flashback ends, we see Meliodas says that Gilthunder had said that charm at the Forest of White Dreams, and that was how he knew something was very wrong with Gilthunder. At this point, Gilthunder finishes off Hendrickson, and after this large attack, Diane and the rest sensed that the fight was over and they rushed to the scene. Joining up with Meliodas and his group, they now head to the castle. Chapter 83. At the castle, Freda has been badly hurt as a result of his reflected attacks. Other members of the Dawn Roar appear and the king orders them to stop Freda. The king then proceeds to tell them about the spell surrounding his chambers. After their conversation, the king then speaks with Elizabeth, and we find out that the king has a powerful vision, which enables him to see the near future. The king then tells Elizabeth that they will soon be rescued by a crimson pig. Back to Meliodas' group. Due to Margaret's information about Elizabeth, Gilthunder deduces that she is being held along with the king in the royal chamber. King and Gilthunder talk about the creature that was monitoring Margaret and which Meliodas had earlier killed. It was this creature right here. And we find out that it was a chimera and it could camouflage itself and it was resistant to lightning-based attacks. That was why Gilthunder didn't destroy it himself. During their conversation, Arthur is seen running alongside them. After a brief confusion and explanation, where Arthur reiterates that he owes a debt to the king, we also find out that he has some kind of hidden power but cannot seem to draw it out. The group then continue to head towards the castle until they are teleported to the Forgotten Forest by the female Holy Knight. Leaving them behind, the Holy Knight teleports back to Leonis, only to find Meliodas and the others there too. Just before she can teleport or attack the group, she herself is teleported to many different and dangerous locations. After a series of teleports, the female Holy Knight falls, and we see that Arthur's partner was responsible for humiliating her. At this point, Meliodas recognizes this cloaked person and the female Holy Knight attacks. The cloaked mysterious person who accompanied Arthur just happens to be the master or teacher of this female Holy Knight, and her name is Vivian. But the cloaked figure happens to be the most powerful mage in all of Britannia. And it's none other than the boar sin of gluttony, Merlin. Chapter 84. Merlin greets everyone before she teleports everyone, including herself, to the royal chambers. Upon arriving outside the chamber, Merlin points out that due to the spell that was placed on the royal chamber, she cannot teleport the group inside directly. The group meet up with Dawn Roar, and Meliodas and Elizabeth talk through the door. So after these brief conversation, Merlin then uses a technique called absolute cancel to, cancel out Vivian's spell. And so opens the door with ease. Finally, Meliodas and his friends meet up with Elizabeth and the king. After several conversations, Meliodas asks Dreyfus about his intentions for framing the sins for the great holy knight Zarathrus's murder. Dreyfus then yells that the sins are the traitors for killing his brother and trying to overthrow the kingdom, at which point Margaret reveals that she witnessed Dreyfus and Hendrickson killing Zarathrus. Guther backs up this information with what he saw in Dreyfus' mind, and even reveals Dreyfus' motives. Hauser is shocked the most as Dreyfus finally admits the truth. Eventually the conversation moves on until Elizabeth tells Dreyfus that his son, Griaumar, was still alive. Now we move back to Vivian, and we finally see her face for the first time. If you remember, Vivian is the female holy knight that used her teleportation magic to kidnap Elizabeth. Anyway, Vivian is crying over her loss, and a shadowy figure appears and tells her that nothing was over. And we see that this figure is in fact Hendrickson, and he also seems to have a black mark similar to that of Meliodas. Chapter 85. Jericho awakens, and Gila informs her of the situation. Of course, Jericho is shocked by this. Gila then goes on about how the demon blood affected her. How before she despised fighting, couldn't stand the sight of blood, but after drinking the demon's blood, she had no feelings of the matter. She could kill someone without a second thought. Here we go back to the king, and he greets Arthur. And during their conversation, the king falls ill. Merlin states that she can help him, but she requires to do so at Camelot. So Merlin gets ready to teleport the king, Arthur and herself back to Camelot. But before she does so, Arthur asks Meliodas whether he could be the great holy knight of Camelot. Meliodas agrees, but states that he will take up the role when he feels up to it. After all, he still has a few things to settle in Lyonesse. After the three of them leave, Elizabeth asks whether Meliodas will really leave her. At this point, the castle comes under attack by Hendrickson. Hendrickson then speaks some strange words into a ring, and it causes the demon blood in all the new generation of holy knights to awaken. The knights deform and turn into monsters like we saw in Orden. All new generation of holy knights, that includes Gila and Jericho. That takes us on to the last chapter of this issue, chapter 86. Jericho turns into one of these monsters and attacks Zeal. However, Guther and Dain intercept the attack. Meliodas figures that someone caused the demon blood to go berserk. At which point Hendrickson shows up and explains how he did so. He then demands that Elizabeth be handed over to him. King then attacks him, only for him himself to be knocked away by Hellbrand. Hendrickson then explains that he used a druid technique to revive and enslave Hellbrand. Of course, King is saddened to hear this. His friend, who died hundreds of years ago, was revived, and only a while ago he had to kill again. And now King finds out that Hendrickson was behind Hellbrand's revival. It of course saddens him. Hellbrand was King's best friend after all. Meliodas and Gilthunder then proceed to attack Hendrickson. But before they reach him, they are stopped in their tracks as Vivian manages to get a hold of both Elizabeth and Margaret. Hendrickson doesn't waste this opportunity and strikes both heroes. Just before Hendrickson delivers a final blow, Elizabeth hands herself over to Hendrickson in exchange of sparing the two heroes. Elizabeth then leaves with Hendrickson, and the chapter ends with Ban's return. So now Ban has returned. He can join the fight and hopefully help rescue Elizabeth from Hendrickson. But if you remember, in the last volume, Ban was tasked by the Goddess clan to kill Meliodas. So what is Ban going to do? Now we have the kind of special extra chapter. And it's just about Elaine and Ban. Yeah, it's quite short. It's just basically a lover's quarrel, you could say. And that's really it for this volume. Okay everyone, thanks for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe. Bye.